relatively new and incredible Department of Agriculture. It's such a pleasure to be on this team. Kali, can I turn it over to you?
Sure. Hang on. Okay, can you hear me, Lauren?
Yes.
Okay. Aloha, good evening, everybody. Thank you for freeing up your time tonight to make this important meeting your priority. Food and nutrition security is needed by all of our communities in order to have consistent and equitable access to healthy, safe, affordable, culturally appropriate foods that meets dietary needs and healthy lifestyles. The Food Access Coordinator, Lauren Nelson, whom you just met, leads our new established Food Security Division within the Department of Agriculture. This division aims to create agriculture markets and distribution networks and provides education, outreach, and advocacy for food systems, ensuring locally grown products. Your participation tonight is valuable and look forward to hearing the results and seeing the participation and how it works into addressing our greater vision that our department is tasked to do. And so nice to see Molokai in the house and other people around Maui. Thank you for taking your time, and I'll turn it over to Lauren. Mahalo.
It's my pleasure to also introduce Kaea Medeiros, our agriculture advocate, also with the Maui County Department of Agriculture. Kaea?
Yeah, aloha. So my name is Kaea Medeiros. I'm the agriculture advocate for our County Department of Agriculture. I also serve as the co-lead for the Natural and Cultural Resources branch of our Office of Recovery. So for all of our Lahaina Ohana that are joining us today, we greatly appreciate you making the time and space to join us today. We understand that especially our directly impacted Ohanas are going through a lot right now, to say the least. So we definitely appreciate all of you showing up tonight. So mahalo.
Mahalo, Ea. And thank you all so much for being here. To echo Kaea's words, we know that many of you have not stopped working to serve your communities and your families since August 8th. So we are really grateful to have you on tonight's call. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to help us learn from you to form the basis of the Maui County Food and Nutrition Security Plan. The Food and Nutrition Security Plan will be the first food access plan that Maui County has ever created, the first time that we as a county come together with the collective goal to end hunger within Maui County and to improve our food system, specifically with the goal of improving nutrition security. The reason why we say food and nutrition security is that food security implies that the caloric needs of a community are met, whereas nutrition security implies that every resident will have access to a nutritionally adequate and culturally appropriate diet, which is our goal. We'll also look at, improving our whole food system to build our climate and emergency resiliency and creating opportunities for local food producers so we can continue to grow our agricultural economy and build an agricultural economy that serves our local community. This plan will be a multi-agency plan working with for-profits, small businesses, nonprofits, and government agencies so we can all collectively come together, unify our actions to build food and nutrition security. We're really trying to help leverage resources, work within ongoing work, seeing programs that are already successful and just helping to better resource them. We also hope to increase collaboration and reduce competition so that we can all, fill our niche, fill the gaps, and make sure that our whole community has food access and that no one is being left behind in terms of, falling greatly below the poverty level and lacking access to food, or for our families too who don't quite qualify for federal assistance and are in that gap where they too need extra supports just to make ends meet, but aren't receiving any benefits. Tonight's agenda will do introductions with everyone, do a data overview looking at the food system needs assessment, the data we collected from 2022 to 2023, looking at all components of Maui Nui's food systems. Then we'll have a small group discussion where the purpose of tonight's meeting will shine. We'll actually get to hear from you. So it's a community listening session so that we can hear from you. Although the beginning will involve a little bit of us just sharing the data we have so that you can let us know if it represents you. And then we can build this plan together. The purpose of these community listening sessions tonight is the 7th of our 7 regional based across Maui County food system needs assessment, food system community listening sessions where we shared out the data from our food system needs assessment, but we're really trying to get community feedback to build the basis of our plan. It wasn't enough for us to collect data and then run with it. We wanted to share that with you all and hear from you so that the community is directly involved in building out this food nutrition security plan so it can be by the community for the community. At the end of tonight, we'll do a group share out so that we can learn from each other. So feel free to unmute yourself or add in the chat. We are coming together to discuss some really key issues for our community that involve our well-being and the well-being of our keiki and the future state of our natural resources. So we ask that you honor these collective group agreements. So we ask that you create a culture of safety, be respectful. A lot of ideas will be shared tonight, some that you may not agree with. We just ask that you respond with respect. Additionally, in our small group sessions, we want to ensure that we hear from everyone. So if you tend to be more shy, ask yourself, do I need to speak up? Stay curious, ask questions. Together we know a lot, but we can't know it all. Does anyone have additional group agreements that you would like us to add to this list? Feel free to add them in the chat or unmute yourself. Any additional group agreements?
Can I add something, Lauren?
Please.
I would just add that to be a critical thinker and think outside the box. I got the chance to attend one of these community listening sessions already, and I think there's something to be said for that too. It says on here, stay curious, ask questions, but instead of kind of going over what the problems are, really challenge yourself and your colleagues to think, how can we fix those or overcome those challenges?
Thank you. That sounds great. Let's add it. Awesome. If you guys think of any additional group agreements you'd like us all to consider, please type them in the chat. And then since we're a relatively small group with just 10 of us, I think we can do introductions with the main group. Our discussion will split us in half, but I'm hoping that we can go around and share your name and share about a food from your childhood that you miss eating. If you guys wouldn't mind, we can just popcorn to the next person. Lacey, since you're the last to speak, would you mind if I tossed it to you to popcorn to someone else?
How about James Gomez?
If you're unable to mute yourself and you want to just type it in the chat, that's great too.
Sorry about
James,
that.
yeah, no worries.
I am currently a Board of Ag member for the state. I just got off a DLNR board. I was down there for 8 years. I'm the immediate past president of Hawaii Cattlemen's Council. And I retired from Olopalaku Ranch as operations manager, but I'm back there as a consultant. As far as a food that I'd share from my childhood, being that I'm from in the Kula area, wherever I need fish or whatever it's attainable, I can get it by hunting or by fishing. So whatever I had as a childhood, I still can get. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Alexa, can I pass to you? Alexa, then Chelsea, then Dana.
Hi, I'm Alexa, and I guess the food that I probably miss from childhood would maybe just be like cheese pizza. I found out that I'm allergic to gluten since being a child, so that's something I don't ever eat anymore. And that's it.
Chelsea?
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I currently work for the USDA with veterinary services. I'm also a local rancher farmer. And I miss as a childhood food riding on horseback on the ranch and picking fresh fruit from the orchards on the ranch. Thank you.
Dana? Donna? And if you're not able to unmute, no worries. Felix?
Hey everyone, I'm Felix. I work with Grow Some Good, helping out with community outreach, fundraising, marketing. I'm here to listen and learn, and know how I can support, these initiatives that we are going to talk about today. As for food from childhood, um, I would have to say there's some Indian food, like cultural food that I don't get very often anymore. So basically my mom's cooking. So so I do miss that.
All right. Aloha. Hi, everybody. Luann Langford Favorito from Ho'olehua, Molokai. I'm the treasurer for Ho'olehua Homesteaders Association. And what I miss is limo ele ele.
Mahalo. Kaea, can I pass to you? And then Lacey.
Yeah, aloha. So again, my name is Kaea Madaris, and I guess the food that comes top of mind that I don't necessarily miss it because I don't get to eat it, but I guess how often I get to eat it, which is poi. I can pretty much eat poi with every meal, so that would be top of mind for me. Wow.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Lacey Abercrombie. I'm a garden teacher at Pomaka'i Elementary, and I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. And catfish, fried catfish, is something I miss, which sounds probably very odd coming from all the amazing ahi that we get to eat here. But yeah, brings me back.
I love hearing all these stories. Dana, please feel free to unmute or share your intro in the chat. Again, I'm Lauren Nelson. I'm the Food Access Coordinator with the Maui County Department of Agriculture. And the food that I've been missing this week so much is my mom's corned beef and cabbage and Irish soda bread. We have it every year for St. Patrick's Day as a way to celebrate my dad's Irish ancestry. And it was just very sweet when they got married. She really wanted to celebrate his culture in addition to hers. So I miss her cooking every day. So why we're gathered here today, like we had said, is to build the foundation for the Maui County Food and Nutrition Security Plan so that this plan can be as community informed as possible. We'll take all of the findings from our needs assessment and then also everything that you shared today and has been shared out in the past community listening sessions of the past 7 weeks and put them online, share them out with you all. If you wouldn't mind typing your email into the chat. You can message me privately if you would like to be updated and sent out the recording from tonight's session, the notes, and then also the actual write-up that the notes from the discussion. I'll make sure that you receive a copy and then receive updates as we go through the planning process. So we're going to take input from the community listening sessions, put it online for everyone who wasn't available to attend the community listening sessions, and then use that to create the first draft of our food nutrition security plan. The plan itself, the name may change. Kaea had suggested naming it the Ipono Sovereignty Plan. We'll keep you updated if we shift names, but the heart of it will be the same in that we're working to build measurable collective steps towards achieving nutrition security on Lanai, Molokai, and Maui. We'll have around 6 weeks open when we publish our first draft of the plan, where we'll invite the community to comment on the draft, provide input. We'll have some more Zoom sessions where we can have a conversation. We'll take your feedback and then create a second draft so that you can see if your input was well incorporated or if there's more additions we need to make. And then we will have that second draft open for another 6-week period for public comment. And then we will conclude our efforts in January and finalize our food nutrition security plan in time for the next legislative session statewide, and then also in time for the county budget. I want to do a quick share out of the data that we have collected so far that will help inform the plan in addition to tonight's conversation. So the Maui County Department of Agriculture has partnered with Kamehameha Schools and the Maui Nui Food Alliance to host the Maui Nui Food Summit last year at Kamehameha Schools Maui campus. And these were the top solutions that our small groups identified to solve our key issues that our food systems face. So our solutions involved everything from access to water and land, having sustainable long-term leases, having water storage, uniform water rates, expanding our ag parks and community gardens, creating better sublease structures for our farmers so they can have longer leases, which will just expand the type of production they can do. It's really hard to plant trees if you only have a 1-month lease. We also saw a reoccurring need for agricultural infrastructure, from slaughterhouse facilities to commercial kitchens and food processing centers for value-added products, and even just produce packing facilities. There's a great need for cold storage, aggregation, and each of our communities has unique needs around rural access to processing facilities, commercial kitchens, and mobile slaughterhouses, and then how wastewater will be managed at each of those sites. There's a huge need for workforce development, having agricultural labor, building out our future generation of farmers, which really starts in schools. So it's working within the Department of Education, DOE's existing ag programs, working with our college, Maui College, and CTAR, and also expanding out opportunities for farmers to be able to live where they work, and to provide affordable, accessible housing for our vital farmer population. There's also a need to reduce regulatory burdens. So having better access to hunt inspectors for our hunters so that they can actually sell the meat that they hunt. Working with our Department of Land and Natural Resources on the state level to improve permitting and regulation so they actually serve the community, protecting our natural resources, but in a way that's not at the detriment to the food security of our local communities. Having regional composting facilities, especially in reaction to invasive pests like coconut rhinoceros beetle, CRB, and looking at different cottage food laws that allow certain products like baked goods to a certain capacity to be produced at home, but yet exclude many traditional foods from being processed due to fermentation and other barriers. We also identify the need for soil fertility and just having commercial composting systems, waste recycling systems, locally made inputs, and closed loop farming inputs. Funding for food producers was another solution that was identified at the 2023 Maui Nui Food Summit, extending everything from access to capital for farmers, grants over loans for producers, micro grant programs where one agency or the government can apply for federal funding and then have an umbrella grant system to just ease the grant application process. As we know, our food producers, our farmers, ranchers, fishers, and hunters all wear dozens, if not hundreds of hats, from being electricians to technicians to actually producing food for our communities, to marketing their business and creating value chain connections. So we need to reduce as many burdens on them as possible and make it easier for them to access much needed capital. There's also a need for water infrastructure support and funding for fencing. And then, of course, we have these federal food access programs that we need to expand here in Maui Nui. So it's our Supplemental Nutrition Access Program, SNAP, having it accessible at farmers markets, expanding the Debucks Double Up Food Bucks, which doubles the spending power of SNAP clients towards local produce. Utilizing the Women, Infants, and Children's Supplemental Food Access Program at farmers markets, and helping market managers manage the huge burden of federal paperwork associated with these food access programs. And then looking at institutional purchasing as a main mechanism to get local food to local people. So farm to food bank and farm to school and farm to hospital as avenues to ensure that food that is grown here is actually accessible to residents. And as I've heard quoted many times, our Department of Education is the largest restaurant in all of Hawaii. So not partnering with them is a missed opportunity. And given that we've had some folks join in late, I'm just going to reshare the link to the slide deck in the chat in case you want to your own version. So very briefly, I'm just going to share out some of the highlights from our food system needs assessment that we conducted from 2022 to 2023. We looked at different components of our food system, from food production to supply, how it gets to markets, to the consumer end, and then looked at food security as a whole. For our producer needs assessment, we surveyed 70 producers between 2022 and 2023 on Lanai, Molokai, and Maui. And we found that the top challenges that our farmers and ranchers are facing in getting their product to market is cost, lack of available labor, delivery and transportation barriers, limited cold and freezer storage, and then lack of processing facilities. The top challenges that these food producers identified in the ag sector were water, funding, agricultural labor, housing for laborers, and land. Access to land, access to sustainable leases. Our food supply assessment looked at 5 of our largest distributors and found that the 5 food distributors that we surveyed identified their top challenges preventing them from sourcing more local food as the consistent availability of food, price, quality, difficulty in coordinating delivery and transportation, the cultural appropriateness of crops, and funding needed to have more employees. They also identified their personal as organizational top challenges as the consumer awareness of their product, the cost of supplies, supply chain shortages, including the availability of raw ingredients, labor issues, availability of qualified employees, access to commercial kitchens, and need for funding. Our consumer needs assessment surveyed 97 Lanai, Molokai, and Maui residents, asking them if they want to see their grocery store offer more local foods. Almost 96% said yes. And we asked them what foods they would like to see more of, and they responded with this list. So we did also ask consumers where they shop. So we're going to take that data back to the grocery stores and share out that, you know, for Whole Foods Market, you know, over 90% of your customers said that they were interested in seeing more local food in your stores, and these are the foods that they would like to see. Lastly, our food security survey was conducted in summer from May to July of 2023. So this data does not capture our present needs. And as we know, following August 8th, the Maui Food Bank's demand doubled from the economic impacts to the impacts of displacement on our community. So these numbers are a snapshot in time from last summer, but they do not represent the status of food security in Maui County now. I do want to highlight also some data points that our partners at Maui United Way collected. So Maui United Way looks at the amount of money that you need to survive, pay bills, pay healthcare costs, and rent. And if you make under that, then you're considered to be asset limited, income constrained, and employed. So this is for a population who is working and yet struggling to cover basic necessities and bills. And in Maui County, we actually have the highest rate between our percentage of individuals living within or under the poverty line, and then within this asset limited, income constrained, and yet employed category. So over half of our population is struggling to make ends meet, pay for food, and pay for bills on a regular basis. And within my field, we have a really awful expression, which is rent eats first. So as our community is faced with high food prices, rising rent costs and housing costs and limited housing, food and the quality of food is oftentimes compromised, as we know, and as we maybe have experienced ourselves. So with this data collected from May to July of last year, we found that high food prices were a major or minor impact for 98% of our 205 respondents. And we know this already. We experience this at the grocery store every week. Hawaii has the highest grocery bill in all of the United States. And we know that for our communities, if you're purchasing something in Kahului, it's going to cost a little bit less than if you purchase it in Napili or in Hana or on Molokai or Lanai, right? The further you get from our ports, the more expensive food is. We surveyed respondents by flyering and Maui Food Bank's food box distribution and asked our survey respondents to self-nominate if they had experienced food insecurity in the last 12 months to take the survey. Of those that responded, 78% said that they had cut the size of their meals or skipped meals because there wasn't enough money for food in their household. And over 90% said that they worried whether their food would run out before they got money to buy more. As we know, the nutritional balance of meals oftentimes gets compromised when we're just struggling to survive, keep our housing, pay our car bill, pay for gas, etc. So we found that almost 90%, or pardon me, over 90% of our respondents sometimes are often couldn't afford to eat balanced meals. And we see this reflected in our health statistics. Our health centers experience this, right? They see it come in via non-communicable diseases and preventable diseases that are caused by a food system that is broken and is not meeting the nutritional needs of our community. In terms of getting locally grown nutritious food, 89% said that food prices were a major barrier. It was actually the top barrier listed in accessing locally grown nutritious food was price. So just to summarize that, food prices, not qualifying for being declined from food assistance programs, knowing about food assistance programs, going through the process of applying for these federal food assistance programs, all were major barriers that limited households in getting locally grown nutritious foods. And households also faced food availability. When we talk about food scarcity, food availability is a major barrier. Like it's one thing, to be able to afford food, but is locally grown nutritious food even available where you shop? Is it available in your neighborhood? If you lack transportation, how can you access that food? So it's availability, affordability, and then of course time is also a major barrier that allows or does not allow an individual to prepare food, as is their living situation. For our neighbors living in vehicles at the moment, their needs for food are greatly different than an individual who has access to a kitchen and refrigeration. That was a lot of data thrown at you, and that's why we shared the slides that you guys can all comb through it at your own pace. Thank you for your patience as we went through it. Now's our chance to hear from you. Like we said before, the Food Nutrition Security Plan is supposed to be by the community for the community, serving your needs. We've shared out the solutions that our group has identified and the challenges that we've identified, but we know we haven't captured everything, and we need your expertise to really hone in on the focus both regionally for West Maui and also broadly for Maui County for the plan. And I just want to share that my favorite thing about the work that I do is that everyone I talk to is an expert. You are an expert. You're an expert in what you like to eat. You're an expert in your family food culture. You're a consumer. If you're like me, you eat more than 3 times a day. If we're lucky, please refer to yourself throughout the community talk story that we're about to do, our small group breakout, as the expert that you are, and know that your opinion is essential in creating this plan. I just want to remind everyone of the additional group agreement that Lacey added in, which is to think outside the box. We'd like for you to identify as specific of solutions as possible. If a particular partner is doing work that's really well, that's going really well, or that should be scaled up, name them. If there's any specific solutions that you see, we want to get as specific as possible, identifying the additional challenges and solutions that you see that need to be captured in our Maui County Food Nutrition Security Plan. So I'm going to break us out into small groups for us to meet with each other and answer this question. Before I do, does anyone have any questions? Okay, you're going to be sorted into breakout groups. And we're going to stay here until the end, and we'll do a big share out. Welcome back. So I appreciate all of you sharing your wisdom and lived experience. We'll do a share out of the top priorities that we selected as small groups, the recurring themes that we all agreed on should be prioritized within the Food Nutrition Security Plan. And then we'll discuss a little bit about what to expect next. All right, Lacey, Kaea, is your group ready to share out?
Yeah, I think our group is they're born ready. So maybe one of the aunties can share. Ours is specific to Molokai because we had 2 of our aunties from Molokai, so that's not specific to Lahaina, but there's so many similar situations, so a lot of connecting points. So yeah, Auntie Valerie or Auntie Luann, you want to maybe just share your top 1 or 2 priority solutions? Or is Auntie Valerie gonna dance hula for us?
So anyways, for Ho'olehua Homesteaders Association, I think a venue where we could do a monthly market for all our homesteaders to bring their produce and livestock to sell. Secondly, a huge issue is water. The Molokai irrigation system, we would like that to be moved over to the DHHL control instead of Department of Ag. Water is huge for us. And the third thing I think was our Ho'olehua Agricultural Youth Council is our OPIO that do gardening and composting, and they do volunteers sorting for garbage and refuse at community events so they can compost for their gardens that they've already started, and they're on their way looking to restart the FFA program here on Molokai.
Awesome job. Any other share outs from your group? It's comprehensive. Love it. Alexa will share out from ours. Thank you, Alexa. And you are muted.
All right, unmuted. Thank you. We discussed specifically with rebuilding in the rebuild of Lahaina, the importance of incorporating like a food forest and or community gardens into the plan. That would be really amazing. Another one would be some location or some facility that would make composting viable on the west side. And then the third would be, I guess it would kind of be like dismantling some of the regulatory burdens surrounding axis deer and its like viability as a protein source out here, because it seems like it's pretty wrapped up in, you know, regulatory red tape, and that's why they're not being used the way that they should be. Oh yeah, and then also the third, you know, promoting like education via the Grow Some Good school gardens, etc., and furthering that program.
Awesome summary. Does anyone from my group want to add anything else? Felix or Chelsea? Thank you so much, Alexa.
Nothing to add. It was great being part of the discussion.
Lauren,
No,
can
thank
I-
you. Oh,
really quick?
please.
I know I'm with the other group, but I wanted to throw it out there, see if anybody wants to comment on the idea of monthly, maybe in conjunction with what Auntie Luann was talking about with her the monthly Makeke farmers market idea, but having monthly cooking demonstrations with locally grown food. So we talked in our group about how one barrier is people not knowing that, you know, not having grown up using certain foods, and that's a, you know, a reason why they might not buy some locally grown foods, or maybe a lot of locally grown foods. So if there was events where they were introduced and maybe you could have a taste test and learn, you know, how to pick one out when it's ready and how to peel it, cook it, etc. Thanks.
I love it. I just added that to our group's notes, just so it was documented. Thank you so much. Well, if you all have additional ideas, we will share out the summary of tonight's discussion for you to add to share with your neighbors near and far, to ensure that we have the West Side voice represented. And our group went through and identified some additional partners that should be included. If you or an additional partner would like to be included in the planning, please just let me know. I'll share right now my contact information and also share it in the chat. Please feel free to reach out anytime. We'll be developing this plan. Here, I'll switch to the timeline really quickly and then back to my contact information. But we'll be sharing out the first draft of this plan in late June. And then we'll have that 6-week period where we open up the plan for public input. But we would love to engage with you before that. Thank you so much for joining tonight's conversation. This is just the start of an ongoing conversation around developing, you know, collective action towards food security. I want to thank you all so much for the role that you play in food systems and for the many ways that you help keep yourself, your families, and your community fed. Please reach out anytime with any questions you have. I just put my email and my number in the chat. And you can also sign up for our mailing list if you're interested in getting updates from the Department of Agriculture. No worries if you're not, but if you would like updates on different agricultural opportunities, goings on with our planning work and other work of our partners, please subscribe. It's a really great resource. And I'll utilize the emails that were shared in the chat just to send updates. I won't automatically subscribe you to our newsletter, but you are so welcome to join if you're interested. And I put the link to that also in the chat. I just want to mahalo you all for your time and shared wisdom. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care. Aloha.